What's good, everybody? My name's Alckemy. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to episode 1 of the Bitwig Chronicles. This is just where I'm going to be doing some candid sound design. I've already got a series where we do that in Faceplant, and I thought, what the heck, why don't we do that with this as well? So if that seems interesting, let's go. That being said, I know what I'm going for today, and it's going to be lots of distortion and crazy sounds, so I guess there's that. But I do want to take you through the journey from scratch. And if that seems interesting to you, then why not subscribe to the channel? It doesn't cost you anything. With that, let's go ahead and talk about FM4. The last track that I made was actually almost entirely with FM4. Not the bass sound, but so those cool little, like, really distorted sounds that were used in the main section, that's what we're going to be kind of recreating today. So yeah, I've got an instance of FM4. I have an instance of the latest and greatest device that was the biggest feature for me by far. Freaking having a clipper inside of Bitwig makes things so much easier. So anyways, we've got this sound. Now, we can cheat code this, and if we just pull this down here a lot, this is going to get louder. You can see that it's going to push the volume up, but really the name of the game is to use just a little bit of FM, then we're going to distort the out of it, and then we are going to add some spatial effects. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Now I am going to add an ADSR, and what we're going to do is just leave this just on a little bit here, and then we're going to make it more percussive, kind of like so. And what we will attach this to is the amount of FM from 2 and 1, and then we'll pull these down. So now that we have that, this is the FM matrix. You can see that 1 goes to 1, 2 goes to 1, 3 goes to 1, 4 goes to 1, or operator 1 is affecting operator 1, operator 2, operator 3, operator 4. So basically what we can do is we can self-modulate with this just a little bit. We can add some of this guy, we can add some of that guy, just a little bit. And I don't even need to listen to this because I've done this so many times, but what you'll kind of notice is that the more that you start to push something, let me just go ahead and push this up all the way. You really want to try to like find that nice middle ground between having something get more and more distorted versus like just a ton of like screeching noise. So take a listen. Right about there. So that kind of piercing, really high-pitched stuff, we want to try to avoid that if possible. But really with this, we actually don't need that much. In fact, I could probably back off of this a little bit. But anyways, this is going to give it a little bit of movement of FM at the beginning and then take away from it. If we add this to some release and then we pull back on this just a little bit, we can actually have a really nice bell. Apparently my computer loves it so much because it's flickering. So with that, that's really all we need in order to make not only a really pretty sound, but we can also make it super distorted by applying just a couple of things to make it go crazy. So the most important thing that we have on here is that we've got this over because we're going to drive this really hard. But something to be mindful of is if you click on the over, and then we go over here to the left, you can see that my PCM clipping is at 0. Yours, I think, is going to be at +3, so turn it down. You can even like turn it down to -0.1 for safety if you want to, but I think that 0 is fine. So with that, also, we're doing sound design, so don't worry too much about it. We can start to implore some crazy stuff with the distortion models, and these are great. And this is actually the last update or a couple updates ago that answered another one of my like long time wish lists of being able to use all these cool distortions that Bitwig had. So anyways, let's go ahead and crank this. Now you can see that it's already pretty well driven. So what I'm going to do is we're going to try to play this balancing game with pulling back on some of the high end. You can see that just by playing a couple of notes, sorry, you're going to see some violence to my monitor here one of these days. But when I play multiple notes, you'll see that the interaction between the harmonics is creating some really cool, like distorted, crazy, almost like guitar sounds. Yeah, so, I mean, in theory, you could take it as far as that if you want to, but why would we do that? We're on Bitwig. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a reverb here, and the cool thing about this reverb is that you have both tank and wet effects. So what I'm going to do is actually insert a convolution on this, and we are going to play with something that has a decent size. You can see here, like, what I love about this is you can see how long these samples are. So 2.8, that's probably the longest one in this section, and I don't want it to be too long because we're going to end up making this at pretty much 100%. We can actually create a shimmer if we want to by tuning this convolution up. We can also use a pitch shifter if we want to in order to make it a little bit more resonant, and this would actually constitute pretty much what a pitch shifter, or sorry, what a shimmer reverb is, but we don't actually need this. Well, let's just actually see what it sounds like, and then I'll make the judgment call. You stole something. So with this, what I'd like to do is maybe set this a little bit higher, and then we can pull back on the gain here, and then I can put the pitch shifter inside of the wet effects of this. Let's see what happens if we put, actually no, let's keep it here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add another filter. And I'm going to show you some cool stuff that we can do both by manipulating both of these here. But let's go ahead and grab a Chevy. A Chevy! And every time I read this, it's just, Chevy! I don't know, do you guys have anything like that at home that you do? But yeah, something interesting that you'll find is if you actually turn these off, this is just a side note thing, you can actually make sounds out of this. So maybe I'll do that in another video, but you can actually turn that into a kick if you wanted to, which is kind of cool, but I don't know, just be mindful. This wave shaper, like, it's so weird because if you start to turn this up to a degree, it'll noticeably seem like it's actually doing some kind of like LFO or tremolo with distortion, which is really cool. We're not actually going to try to do that, but it's just a phenomenon that you'll notice. But one thing else is that for some reason, if you look here, this device past... Yeah, as soon as you turn it on, it's going to start doing some kind of like DC pre-ringing or something like that that creates some kind of weird thing. So you can't actually hear it, but notice over here on the master channel, you'll see that it looks like sound is actually coming out. This can distort your entire computer audio, so if you run into that issue, then that's why. You can just turn it off, but yeah, just be mindful of that. Anyway. Ouch. Let's go ahead and pull this down. How crazy is that? So check this out. I'm going to play this D, and look at how this is going to actually make it seem like it's going to start doing tremolo. It's very subtle, but when you move that, you can kind of hear that we can do some cool stuff with that. So I don't know, that's just something to consider. But something else we can do is we can move this to the other side if we want to, and then we can put the reverb over here. We can also move the reverb over here. We can do whatever you want, really. But you can see that there's a different relationship now, though. That's sick. So yeah, as you can see, it's a fairly simple process, and you can see that I'm trying to maintain this here. as a means of not getting too loud. But one thing that I would say that I would still really like from Bitwig is a dedicated OTT. Now we do have dynamics and we do have the new compressor plus, and so I don't mean to sound like a dead horse or something like that, but I do feel like between this one and this one, or maybe even just the dynamics plus would be cool. That was multiband, that would work. The thing with this though is that I want a different means or like more precise controls with the attack and release. That's just a personal thing, but we can turn this up and do a pseudo OTT by turning the ratio up, so we're doing a little bit of upwards compression, a little bit of downwards compression, and then adjusting. So in fact, it would be awesome if in Ableton people are going to smile and Bitwig people are probably going to slap their foreheads, but this combined with this would be great. Just saying. We can make a device that way, of course. But anyways, the point of this is that we can utilize this to bring up some of those quiet pieces from the high end, but you want to be really careful with this. So we can also pull this up a bit too. Now, something about this that you might want to consider is that we can also add another reverb to the other side of this, because this is going to help smear the harmonics and kind of make it seem like it's a smoother, I guess, sound. Oh, we just broke it. Sick. Dope. Cool. So if we back up a bit, there's some other things that we can do too in order to create physicality out of this. I wanted to show you the most obvious things, but I'm going to probably turn this off for now because I don't know what's going to happen after this. Sometimes that's the fun part. You can't actually use a dedicated amp to where this cabinet is kind of it's almost like a convolution shaper, if you will, because what we're doing is kind of creating, well, that wouldn't be right. It's a room shaper, if anything. We're creating a very small cabinet, I guess, that you can kind of change the dimensions of. But with that, there's still some cool things that we can do if we start to utilize that to make it sound just like weird stuff. One thing that you can do, and I guess noticing here with this guy and that first harmonic, is we can probably take this off like so. There we go. And that will fix that issue. So maybe it's anti-aliasing or something. Well, actually, it couldn't be because we've got that turned. Oh, there's no anti-aliasing with this one. But if we turn the DC offset off, oh, then there's that. Okay, so yeah, some kind of DC happening with that. Okay, cool. I solved the problem. Learning. But with this, we can turn the mix up on this and actually create some kind of room here. And you can flip the cabinet reverse on if you want to, but it's really nice to kind of just shape the dimensions and have these different options to choose from sometimes. Now we can use this to create a bram. Let's distort it again. You can see that we've added so much distortion to this that it's actually falling apart. So we want to try to find a balance to where we can keep pushing it, but not... That's sick. Come on, monitor. Stop it. So remember, if you play multiple notes, you're going to get that crazy harmonic thing. But it might not always sound good. Something like that is really nice. Let's try convolution. And again, we're kind of just smashing that, and it's clipping so hard and pushing so hard that what is this? No. Yeah, it's pushing so hard that we're just pretty much breaking the sound. But that's kind of the cool thing about this, is having that relationship and giving ourselves something really interesting to work with. There we go. You can also play with the filter cutoff of that first one. And there you have it. So I never thought that Bitwig could do something like this, and I'm glad that I took the time. And actually, this sound was inspired from the most recent remix that I did from Cage, because he uses a lot of sounds within that. And I was like, I wonder if I just take some. At first, I was like, I'm going to take some guitar simulations, and then I ran stuff through the analog heat, which I would still highly recommend, especially if you just want a raw voltage sound. But then I was like, maybe I could do this within Bitwig, and that's kind of how I came about making something like this. And yeah, it's really cool. So anyways, hopefully that was fun. If any of you all have any questions about this, then let me know. Perhaps in the next video I'll show you how to make neurobass out of this, which is really cool. I've already kind of done so, and it's, yeah, pretty neat. I do still feel like we need some kind of OTT solution. I know that there's the Compressor Plus, but it's not technically multiband, and I do think that having a multiband option on this would be good. The reason why I don't throw this into an FX3 is because there's a phase shift relationship that isn't really pleasing to me. So I thought about it, I promise. I know that there's an OTT from the Bitwigger community or whatever, but yeah, it's not the same. I would recommend Fuse Compressor because that will bring everything here up, and having a lot of compression will actually help sometimes, not always, but sometimes it will actually help you keep the sound consistent. But I don't know, I only do it if I need it. So anyways, hopefully that was enjoyable, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.